There is a question from Mr. Yasha Black himself, and this is for Joe. What is the strategy for onboarding new developers' businesses to the ecosystem? How do you plan to incentivize them?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would say in terms of the question is incentive is the wrong word. Most developers that let's say are in the blockchain space are looking for free money or subsidies, right? And the reality is there are too many ecosystems that are bigger and I don't know, probably more desperate for an actual development community to where the actual subsidies that they offer are much larger than what we can compete with. So we have to start from kind of a balanced perspective. Now, what is the ultimate incentive for developers to come in and build on these ecosystems? It's profit oriented, right? And generally the best mechanism for bootstrapping new development is actually kind of creating an external competition for people to, let's say, come into a project early and potentially, have that same incentive and take on risk, right? So like, as a foundation, sure, we've gotten a lot of requests for grants, over time. The first thing that I always say is because we have public money, we kind of require public code. If somebody comes in and says, hey, I want you to subsidize my business, give me free money, and it's going to be a private enterprise, that makes no sense to spend the limited treasury that we have in that situation. Now, we do have tools like Raffle, ErgoPad, and there's also, even other creative frameworks that projects can have in terms of fundraising. Now, over time, as Ergo grows, the open source, let's say, tools that we have, the frameworks expand. Over time, market access will grow, and that will naturally, let's say, increase our visibility as well as market access, and that will, increase the incentive that developers have to build on top of Ergo. But, if this idea is just subsidize things, that's dangerous. Because number one, you now have one party that has a significant advantage over, competing developers in the same area. And, that kind of leads to a certain cronyism in ecosystems. And I think if you look across projects, sometimes you see that where you have like, one project that is subsidized and comes in with a much larger advantage, and, then the market it just doesn't have equilibrium. So my opinion is for core infrastructure, sure, the Ergo Foundation is really happy to sponsor that. But in terms of, inheriting risk, we should push that to the community and say, okay, how do you incentivize the community to, invest or be a part of what you're trying to build as a developer? Because ultimately, going to kind of private enterprise rather than going for public money, I think is superior in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's actually, as you said, it's kind of a dangerous paradigm that's been set in the industry about who's going to cut the bigger check for the bigger bunch of bullshit. It's basically one of the symptoms of a bull market bubble. What happens is, you have a lot of this really, really easy, easily attainable money. Well, because we are kind of making currencies here. So, it's, you can go to a large blockchain and say, hey, give me a grant in your crypto. And yeah, they got a bunch of it. They made it. Of course, it's not unlimited, in some, but it's still a lot easier for them to do than a fair launch project like Ergo, where the project is community driven. There is no rich foundation behind this. There is no corporate behind it. It's all community driven, and that's what you get. You want decentralization, you got it. That's what happens. That's what happens in decentralized communities. You have to provide incentives that are community driven, and development is community driven. Tooling that has been developed in the Ergo ecosystem is community driven. And that's an incentive. That's a huge incentive. It's an incentive for me, for example, to build in the Ergo system, and for the Zengate team to build in the Ergo ecosystem. And of course, obviously, I am partial to the Ergo ecosystem because of my role in it. But as a business person, I look at the Ergo ecosystem and it's attractive to me, not just because I have some sort of an emotional attachment to it, but because it's attractive to me from a fiscal standpoint and from a developmental standpoint. So fiscal, right? It's cheaper to do stuff in the Ergo ecosystem. It just is. It just is. NFTs, like, look, Palmyra is running an NFTs, and of course, in the future, there, when we get all this traffic in, and transactions start happening on the chain, and the chain grows, there might be a vote to raise prices, but it's still, I'm pretty convinced that the miners in the Ergo ecosystem are not going to vote to kill their business, so it's not going to skyrocket. Okay. It's still going to be economically viable and business economically viable for us to keep using and building on the Ergo blockchain. Aside from that is the tooling. Is just so much tooling here, and it's so easily accessible, and it's just so straightforward that it's basically kind of like one of those goes into like a gun shop, goes in the back, and there's like a huge arsenal back there, and he just goes to like the Matrix. You got this huge arsenal. You just like pick what you need for the battle. Pick what you need. That's what Ergo is to me. That's what Ergo is to us. It's just such a big arsenal of tooling that we just pick what we need and we use it. And again, to a business person, yeah, of course, loans are cool. Grants are nice. But there is a trade-off. Can I build Palmyra in a completely different ecosystem, even outside of Ergo or Cardano? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? No, because we have made a business decision that the Ergo and Cardano ecosystems are the most economically viable for us to build this business. And that's an incentive for us. That's an incentive for us because it's just, we can do what we need to do, and we can do it in the most efficient and the most straightforward way. And also, look, again, this thing with grants, maybe other industries, I don't know. I'm not the all-seeing oracles of every single tech industry out there, but in the IT industry, this whole thing, hey, foundation, give me a grant thing it's kind of a crypto thing, it's kind of a blockchain thing. At least it's from my experience. During the .com boom, you didn't have like a startup going to Microsoft. Well, maybe they did once in a while, but going to some foundation or some company like Microsoft and say, hey, give me this money to build this in Microsoft. A lot of times these guys are like, okay, build it. We're not going to give you money. We're going to give you money. We're going to invest in your company. If you want to go the old school way, do an equity raise, build a business. Yeah, we'll do that. But we won't just kind of like give you straight money for tooling or straight money for tokens or whatever. It's kind of a new world, and it's like Joe, getting back to what Joe said, it's kind of a bad paradigm because easy money is easily disrespected, I think, and that's why we have a lot of these, rug pulls and crashes happening, because money is a lot easier to come by. 10 years ago, $10 million wasn't as easy to come by as it is now, or it was, at least in the last bull run. And with that comes, great irresponsibility of people just kind of like saying, okay, well, we got this money. We don't really have that much of a fiduciary obligation for this money, because they think that they don't, this money just is for tokens, right? It's not really for equity a lot of times. And tokens, well, tokens go up, go down. It's a risk. and so they just don't feel the same. Don't take me wrong. There's plenty of projects that understand responsibility, but those that I'm talking about, and you know which ones I'm talking about, the type of projects I'm talking about, they feel that a token raise is a way to avoid having the responsibility of creating a business with the traditional model of equity and equity rounds and investors and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's a discipline that we need to get back, or at least we need to promote a lot more as an ecosystem for us to survive long term. This is how we're building Zengate. This is how I hope that businesses in the ecosystem build themselves. They don't just rely straight on token raises and pie in the sky stuff, but it's more of a more hardcore commitment. They understand that nothing is free, money is not easy, and easy money is easily lost. So I mean, that's just my rant on the subject.
I think that number one, it's way too easy to raise money in this space. Like if you were to go and try to get seed investing with half the ideas and nothing built in like the real world, you'd probably get laughed out of most meetings. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
And the second thing is, if you're going to start a business as an entrepreneur, you got to prepare for, I would say 2 to 5 years of little sleep, right? And that's like having a kid. This idea that, I should just have a good idea, raise a bunch of money, and then, half-ass maybe deliver something, maybe not, shouldn't fly. And, the crazy thing in this space is when you get these serial offenders that, raise money, never deliver anything, raise money, never deliver anything, raise money, never deliver anything. And, somehow they still attract liquidity. It's a little insane to me. What do you think, Alex? You've been in and around the space for a long time.
Right. So foundations greasing projects in its our ecosystem. Appeared after Ethereum, I believe, so around 2017. And it's usually complete shit show, right? It's in the first place. It happens when distribution is centralized, right? So foundation is having a big chunk, right, to sponsor everything around. So it's basically like having a money printer, right? And you use that money printer to sponsor economy, right, in your ecosystem. But usually it's going to just totally corrupt rotten swamp, right? And a lot of examples here. Already failed ecosystems. Maybe no need to call names, right? But they're widely known.
Yeah.
Right. For example, Terra, right? So, let's call some names. I mean, they did pretty big grants for building ecosystem around Terra, right? But we know what happened.
Yeah, the reality is Ergo is too small to compete with that type of cronyism. And that cronyism in and of itself creates a ton of inefficiencies in the end, in my opinion.
And in the end, I mean, look at these ecosystems. I mean, they implode. It's not sustainable. You can't just print. You can't be a money printer and expect to have a sustainable long arc of development. It's not going to happen. This is why I am so passionate Ergo, is because we don't have that. We kind of, quote unquote, screwed ourselves out of that with the fair launch. We don't have that problem because we don't have that kind of money. We can't dump money at people and hey, here's $20, $30 million. Build this stuff. Make us look cool. Let's buy some TVL. Let's do that. We need $1 billion of TVL. How much is that going to cost? then it's a good thing. To me, that's a good thing. To me, it makes the ecosystem more genuine.
And for investors in cryptocurrencies, right? So it's hard to understand why they could prefer bad money, right? Which are sponsoring its own corruption. Eventually, it's pretty obvious that good money drives out bad.
Yeah, absolutely.